The Republicans fled to Mar-a-Lago over the weekend as LA burned, and then they spread lies and disinformation. Now we see MAGA Mike Johnson saying that he would need to impose conditions on Los Angeles and California if California were to receive national aid. How vile, how despicable. We will break it all down. Also, California Governor Gavin Newsom has now been forced to be a debunker of the deluge of lies being spread by Elon Musk, Donald Trump, MAGA influencers, MAGA propaganda, media. Once upon a time when there would be tragedy and crisis, we would unite as Americans and shun the lies and disinformation from internet trolls. Now an internet troll is the leader of the Republican Party with his inauguration set to take place soon. And what vile trolling Donald Trump has done, if you even want to call it that, making posts saying Trump was right with the fire by where the Hollywood sign is just ridiculous posts. We will break it all down. And again, I don't care what political party you're from. This should just piss you off. Crass, vile, taking advantage of people's suffering here in Los Angeles. But that's the MAGA Republicans for you. And I also want you to remember this about Donald Trump. I repeat it over and over again. WMD, weapon of mass distraction, right? As Donald Trump keeps talking about taking over Greenland and Canada being the 51st state. For the weekend, you had people like Donald Trump's envoy to Ukraine, Keith Kellogg, say, actually, we're not going to be able to do a peace deal in Ukraine after Russia's unlawful invasion in 24 hours, but perchance, can you give us 2,400 hours? How maybe if we do a framework in like 100 days, maybe we do that? No. You said in 24 hours. That was your promise. We're not going to forget here on the MeidasTouch Network, and we will call it out every single day. But folks, Donald Trump selling guitars, and Eric Trump and Donald, they're going to do Trump vodka. Don't be distracted. Promises broken each and every day, and we need to call them out every single time. Also, these broken promises are again fueling this civil war within the MAGA Republican Party, right? You've got even people at the kind of the upper echelons of the MAGA hierarchy, like Steve Bannon, saying that he's declaring war on Elon Musk and that Elon Musk shouldn't step foot in the White House. You've got Steve Bannon saying to Breitbart and other places that Elon Musk is too racist for the MAGA movement. Elon Musk too racist for Steve Bannon. We will break that all down. And also Alina Habba, one of Donald Trump's top advisors. She has an official role right now in the White House. She was swooning over Andrew Tate, who's essentially on tape bragging about what he does with women. He's been charged with sex trafficking, vile, despicable stuff right there. And even people in the MAGA movement like this Monica Matthews, who's been helping with the transition, she's saying, hey, Susan Wiles, you're the chief of staff. What is going on here? We'll read for you what a lot of these MAGA people are saying about Alina Habba saying about some of these other MAGA people. We want to cover that as well. And look, a few more days of normalcy, folks, I suppose, at least in the White House. President Biden delivered an important foreign policy speech today. And again, no accordion hands, no threatening our allies, talking about American principles. Sorry, corporate media, that wasn't sexy enough or fun enough. It wasn't reality TV, man. But look, I want competent governance. And I know sometimes it's hard to defend competent governance. It's kind of like sometimes defending a cable company or a utility company. Like, yeah, you need it sometimes. But we need competent governance, not this crazy chaos. But we'll be with you every step of the way here on the MeidasTouch Network. Brett and Jordy are here. We're with you every step of the way. Good to see you guys.
Good to see you too. It's good to be back. It was upsetting to have to run away the last episode for that mandatory evacuation right before we started the episode. But I want to thank everybody for reaching out. Yes, I'm safe. My home is safe. Honestly, I am certainly one of the incredibly lucky ones here in Los Angeles. The fires by me broke out literally a couple blocks away. But the LAFD jumped into action. They were able to stop them pretty quickly, the ones by me. And I was able to come back later that night. I know a lot of other people haven't been as lucky, and it's just been so devastating every single day watching all the devastation that has been wrought as a result of these fires, these winds, and it's been, it's been exhausting. Also, then seeing all the commentary on right-wing social media coming from Donald Trump and flowing down to even people who I know in Los Angeles, spouting out, some of these lies from Donald Trump and these Elon Musk and these other actors of disinformation and lies on the internet. It's so incredibly frustrating and demoralizing, but we're pushing through it. We're pushing back. I think if I could describe what it feels like here in LA to folks who aren't here, to me, it reminds me of the COVID era, when you're kind of in survival mode, when you're constantly looking at the TV for the next update. Where's the next wave going to take place? Looking at the forecast, trying to hear from the experts, and then at the same time getting this deluge of disinformation, this deluge of lies, which seeks to counteract the progress actually being made on the ground. Meanwhile, you sort of feel locked in and cooped up, and you go to the store and everyone's trying to get the supplies as if it's the end. It really feels a lot like that era. I don't like that very much. But like I said, I'm certainly, one of the lucky ones here, and I want to send all my love, and prayers and everything to, everybody here in LA. It's such an incredible city, and to see the way folks are coming together in the city to help one another out right now in this time, it's really heartwarming, and it shows you the good parts of humanity in the sea of the cesspool of the lies and disinformation that we're seeing out there online. Jordy, how are you doing?
Brett, it is so great to have you back. I see everybody in the comments right now saying that they're glad that you're back, doing well. And yeah, my heart goes out to everyone still being affected by these fires. I know we have a huge, Mighty constituency out there in, California. So please just know, as I said last week during the podcast, we're in this together. We're here for you guys. Please let us know how y'all are doing. Excited to get into the show and really dig in. And it does just amaze me that as Newsom is literally, and I know we're about to jump into it, but as he's literally, fighting for the people on the ground, not even not Democrats, right? Just fighting for the people of California on the ground right now, trying to get them resources, trying to get them help. The fact that he has to push back against Donald Trump and these MAGA Republican lies about how the fire started or this person did it, or there's not enough resources. The MAGA lies right now, specifically, it is putting the lives of Californians in the greatest danger. And the fact that Newsom has to spend 1 second, even just 1 second of his time trying to just get the truthful information and combat the misinformation out there and the disinformation, it's ridiculous that it even needs to be done as people's lives are literally on the line. Ben.
Tomorrow, we're actually co-sponsoring an event in the Pasadena area for those impacted by the Eaton fires, 12:30 p.m. at 1146 East Green Street in Pasadena. We're going to be working with this firm there, Mendez and Sanchez. You see it right there, handing out free meals, free In-N-Out burgers, drinks. I think we're going to have some pizza there as well. No pressure, but if you're in the area and if the conditions are safe, of course, you can stop by and pick up just some free food. I may try to stop by at some point in time and just say hello to everybody. But for first responders, police, firefighters, anybody impacted, go. It's a free meal on us and on Mendez and Sanchez. All right, Jordy, your point about Gavin Newsom, though, let's frame it this way. Gavin Newsom's probably one of the best communicators in politics, right? If not the best communicator in politics, right? But imagine how he has struggled to fight back against the deluge of lies, even equipped with literally every skill set, right? a natural orator, quick on his feet, good looking. Like he was built for this specific moment, but it's coming from everywhere. And especially during the middle of a crisis, what do you do? How do you deal with that when your job is governance, not internet trolling? And the moment you're doing fact checks or debunking disinfo, you're already in a defensive posture versus an offensive posture. And that's why this type of stuff was always off limits in our politics, because frankly, it's pretty easy but callous if you're going to take advantage of people during terrorist attacks or natural disasters. It's the most vulnerable group of people. It's the easiest people to take advantage of. Who does that? Donald Trump. MAGA. They've changed the game for how this is dealt with. So now think about the last 4 years with President Biden. President Biden, who's now in his 80s, who's not the orator he once was, right? He is a speak soft but get things done, not someone who's got this rapid response machine, because he's old school. He just believed in let's do deals, let's get out the truth. Come on, people, let's bring everybody together. And Trump and MAGA was like, F you. Even if you're giving us what we want when it comes to the border and doing bipartisan border deals, F you, we're blowing it all up, no matter what it is, whether it's Afghanistan, besides the fact that Donald Trump was the one who released the 5,000 Taliban prisoners and created the dangerous conditions, whether it was the derailment in East Palestine, you meant a crash in the Canadian border, you name the lack of baby formula, no matter what the situation was, often caused by Donald Trump, it was some way to create and spew the lies. And frankly, I think the Biden administration, which was equipped to govern, was not equipped that people don't give a shit about facts anymore. The perception is almost more important than the facts. And we've existed in a MAGA framework of debunking versus being on the offense with a narrative that connects with the people, because there's lies freaking everywhere. And it's important that we recognize the problem and then learn to solve from it. I've noticed Gavin Newsom, though, kind of picking it up and recognizing, I'm seeing the hustle right here. And he's adapting in real time. And I do think public sentiment is starting to shift a little bit as you're seeing, wait a minute, these were bad faith actors who were lying that there was no water, and they were lying that the fire department wasn't funded. It was actually funded more. They were lying that the resources were not in place. Gavin Newsom lined up the resources 2 weekends ago in preparation for this, which was kind of an unprecedented effort. And so let me show you this. First, let me show you this video clip of Gavin Newsom, kind of his response using the kind of bully pulpit of his office to push back. Let me show you this first.
I called for him to come out, take a look for himself. We want to do it in the spirit of an open hand, not a closed fist. He's the president-elect. I respect the office. We have a president of the United States that within 36 hours provided a major disaster declaration over a text. We had support from the president of the United States, Joe Biden, with 100% reimbursement, all the resources you could hope for or imagine, constant communication. I'd like to extend that to the president-elect. I don't know what he's referring to when he talks about the Delta smelt in reservoirs. The reservoirs are completely full, the state reservoirs here in Southern California. That mis and disinformation, I don't think advantages or aids any of us. Responding to Donald Trump's insults, we would spend another month. I'm very familiar with them. Every elected official that he disagrees with, very familiar with them.
We do know, though, from reporting here locally that one reservoir that serves the Palisades was not full.
And that's exactly what triggered my desire to get the investigation, to understand what was happening with that local reservoir. That was not a state system reservoir, which the president-elect was referring to as it relates to the Delta and somehow connecting the Delta smelt to this fire, which is inexcusable because it's inaccurate, also incomprehensible to anyone that understands water policy in the state.
And then Governor Newsom posted this video of Elon Musk. And in the post, Governor Newsom basically says that look at Elon Musk being totally debunked and exposed by firefighters for his own lies. Let me show you. We have this video, Brett, of Elon Musk. If we do, let's play it.
So, all right. What about water availability? Was water availability? I understand that was like not an issue in Malibu. Is that correct?
Was it water?
Well, yeah.
So there was water. We have several reservoirs that encinos that we use a lot. Now, just an example, if we have one building burning, we could flow 1,000 gallons a minute on that one building with the hose lays that we put in to stop it. You can imagine 1,000 gallons per house we couldn't do, right? So the amount of water we're flowing, there really is no water system that's going to keep that pace. So we have to bring in water tenders, which are these big tank water tanks that, 2,500, 3,000 gallon trucks, and they'll come in. And that's what we have to do to compensate. So they park out there, do it. DWP did a great job. They brought in big water trucks for us, and we use them as basically mobile hydrants.
All right.
Right, and then we have our own agency as well that has water tenders.
Okay. My understanding is that like along the correct me if I'm wrong. In Malibu along the coast, there was no shortage of water. In the Palisades, there was a shortage of water at a certain point. Or is that not accurate?
Well, we were flowing just an amount of water that the system couldn't overbear. That we're just overbearing, just because of how much water these firefighters were utilizing.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. All right. Thanks, guys.
Right, not the answer he wanted there. Brett.
Yeah, he ended that spaces really quickly once he didn't get the answer he wanted, and he's been one of the biggest spreaders of all these lies, Elon Musk. And literally every official you speak to, every expert you speak to, anyone who knows a little bit about what they're talking about, all says the same thing. The fires were so large, the situation was so vast that it would have overwhelmed any system in the world, and there's not a system that is equipped to handle this as it happened. I mean, as somebody in LA, to explain it to people out there, this was a giant fire meets a hurricane, basically, with up to 100-mile-an-hour winds. When the winds are like that, you can't fly helicopters over, you can't do hoses. And when they talk about all these fire hydrants and all that stuff, yes, they had water, but fire hydrants designed to get water out of a house, like one house that's burning, not an entire mountain full of homes, not a vast stretch of land like that. So this is like nothing that people have really ever seen. It's something that, quite frankly, everybody knew was a possibility that could happen if the conditions were right, and would just so happen to have those nightmare conditions hit here in Los Angeles at the time. And so just to see the constant spreading of the lies, it's a microcosm of the election that we just went through and the last few years under President Biden and this new kind of media machine since Elon Musk took over Twitter and stuff. It's that the truth really doesn't matter. They try to get these lies out there so quickly, and the lies spread, and the lies actually affect people. They infect people's minds because in times of crisis, people are broken. People are facing trauma. People are looking for someone to blame. They're looking to get angry about something. And into that void comes Elon Musk saying, you're supposed to get angry at this person, or you're supposed to get angry at the Delta smelt, or whatever the issue. They should have raked the forest. There's nothing to do with raking the forests, especially when you have 100-mile-an-hour winds and fire. Nothing in the world is going to stop that. But you got to figure out, okay, now what do we do? How do we actually figure out how do we solve this issue? And I've seen day in and day out, the LA Fire Department, all of the kind of workers around the city doing incredible work, all the volunteers around the city doing incredible work, limiting the amount of deaths that we've seen, a lot of property damage, but limiting the number of deaths that we've seen throughout the city. And that to me is inspiring. And those are the people who are actually doing the real work right now. And there have been real resources for folks over here. There's an app called Watch Duty, which I've actually been able to follow along with for actual updates. And the local news has done a great job at letting people know what's going on. But, Twitter and social media in general, which used to be a place where you could get real-time updates, has become the opposite, has become a place where you go to and you don't know what's true, what's a lie, what's made up, but those lies spread. And then, like you said, Newsom has had to adapt to this, and he is probably more adept at approaching these lies than probably anybody in history in terms of politicians, being a modern kind of politician who understands the internet. His team releasing that video, I thought, was very effective. And we see it. I'll try to pull it up again here if I could find it one more time. So when we took the screenshot of this photo, you see the views on the bottom. This was like right after it posted, and it had 29,000 views. I just checked right before we did the show, and it had more like 7.5 million views.
Nice.
So that's a video now. That's a message that's getting out to a whole lot of people. I saw somebody, I think it was Chris Cuomo, who tried to criticize Gavin Newsom for posting that video. Like, and he says, I'm paraphrasing, but Cuomo said something like, "Oh, Governor, now is not the time to get into petty internet squabbles. Focus on your state." And yeah, and it's like, first off, do you think that's Gavin tweeting? Do you think it's Gavin typing and uploading the video? No. But what you don't understand, Chris Cuomo, is this is the battle that we are facing. Yes, battlers. Newsom also needs to battle the disinformation. And what he is doing is what Democrats have neglected to do over these past few years. And quite frankly, even with Newsom doing it, the cards are stacked against him. Everything is stacked against him because the algorithms are designed to suppress him, and they're designed to uplift the lies. But the fact that Newsom could do a post like that, get 7.5, 8 million views on the post, get his counter message out to counter those lies, that is exactly what people who are running these accounts for the Democrats, for anybody who stands for truth, that's what everybody needs to be doing. This is actually a lesson in proper social media management and how to confront these crises on an informational level. And Gavin Newsom right now is delivering a master class on that, from which everybody should be able to learn from. That should not be criticized. That should be looked at and studied by other people in the party, by other people who are seeking to correct the record.
Exactly that, Brett. It's horrifying to me that MAGA and the MAGA party has made the political calculation, because that's what they're doing. They're making a political calculation that is in their best interest, in their best political interest, not to help people, not to get resources where they need to go, but to spread misinformation and disinformation, actually put Americans' lives more at danger by not doing the things that any normal person would do. Like I always think about, our counterparts overseas right now who are just witnessing the United States politicizing such a horrific event, and seeing MAGA time and time again, just spread these lies and not want to help fellow Americans. It is mind-boggling. It is terrifying. It is upsetting, and it needs to stop. And I'm glad Newsom is doing what he's doing, Brett, because you laid it out perfectly in real time. He is, putting this disinformation to bed. But it's also at the same time horrifying that he has to spend even 1 second thinking that there are people within this own country that are trying to get other Americans killed. Awful.
Look, then you have the California Republican delegation there at Mar-a-Lago. They leave the state. They pull a Ted Cruz, right? The Cancun Cruz. They're chilling with Trump 3,000 miles away, doing poses with their thumbs up as they're spreading the lies, as they're spreading the disinformation. So the question is, well, what do we do about it? In the next segment, we're going to talk about it. We won't just be descriptive, we'll be prescriptive. I think that Governor Gavin Newsom is giving a masterclass in debunking disinfo, although he was a day or two late, not because it was his fault, but because he was handling the crisis. But what we have to do now in the pro-democracy movement is not get distracted by the WMD, the weapon of mass distraction. We have to be clear about what the narrative is. And what that narrative is, Donald Trump made a number of promises, and he's going to be breaking them every single day. And every single day that happens, don't go to the next shiny object. You can still deal with it, take it seriously, but bring it back. You want to rename the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America? Let's talk about the Gulf of cheaper eggs, bro. And let's talk about how are you going to be reducing the price of goods? How are you going to make housing more affordable? I love that post by Adam Kinzinger. I want to talk about that and more. We're going to take our first quick break of the show. It'll be a quick break. Want to remind everybody about MeidasPlus.com and, of course, Patreon.com/MeidasTouch. We'll be right back after our first quick break.
Okay, I got to tell you about this game-changing product I use before a night out with drinks. It's called ZBiotics Pre-Alcohol Probiotic Drink. Let's face it, after a night out with drinks, I don't bounce back the next day like I used to. I used to feel like I had to choose between a great night out and a great next day, until I found ZBiotics. ZBiotics Pre-Alcohol Probiotic Drink is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. ZBiotics produces an enzyme that breaks this byproduct down. Just remember, make ZBiotics your first drink of the night, drink responsibly, and you'll feel your best tomorrow. I won't lie, I was skeptical at first, but I gave it a shot before a night out with friends at our favorite spot downtown, and I could not believe the difference. The next morning, I woke up ready to tackle a packed schedule, no sluggishness, no regrets. Now I use ZBiotics every time I know I've got plans the next day. Go to zbiotics.com/Meidas to learn more and get 15% off your first order when you use code Meidas at checkout. That's MEIDAS. ZBiotics is backed by a 100% money-back guarantee, so if you're unsatisfied for any reason whatsoever, they will refund your money, no questions asked. Again, that's zbiotics.com/Meidas and use that code Meidas, that's MEIDAS, at checkout for 15% off. Cheers to feeling great tomorrow.
How good is that feeling of fresh, clean teeth? Now, I only used to get that true feeling twice a year after I went to the dentist, but that all changed now that I use the new Quip 360 rechargeable electric toothbrush. The new Quip 360 oscillating toothbrush literally revolves around you. Finally, an electric toothbrush that doesn't overcomplicate the most basic daily ritual. Quip 360 is a bold, simple design that comes in multiple colors and is ultra quiet for a super clean without being super annoying. Accepted by the American Dental Association, Quip 360 is scientifically proven to remove up to 11 times more plaque between teeth compared to a manual toothbrush and provide up to 2 times more whitening on day 1. If you don't absolutely love your Quip 360, return it for free within 30 days. If you do love it, brush easy, knowing you get a free lifetime warranty for purchasing on getquip.com, getquip.com, and the opportunity to subscribe to refill heads by mail every 3 months so you never have to go to the store. And now with Quip Perks, Quip is literally putting their money where their mouth is. When you subscribe to AutoShip, you'll be enrolled in Quip Perks to earn credit back over time. Free your mouth with Quip and discover the 25,000 5-star reviews and mouths already loving Quip. Just for listeners of the MeidasTouch podcast, get 20% off site-wide and a free travel case and countertop stand at getquip.com/Meidas. Free your mouth today and save 20% site-wide plus a free travel case and countertop stand at getquip.com/Meidas. getquip.com/Meidas. Let's go. Shout out to our sponsors. Links in description of audio and YouTube. Use the links, use the codes. Let them know we sent you. ZBiotics, big partner of ours. Y'all know we love them. They're back again in 2025. Quip is back. Quip was back again. Guys, brothers, you guys know I was best smile in high school. So I wouldn't trust my toothbrushing with just any ordinary toothbrush. Shout out Quip. Use the links. I love Quip. What's up? Where are we going next, Ben?
Toothbrushing, I don't know. We're going to definitely need to have a cleanser after showing you this next clip from MAGA Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House. He was asked by CNN if there would be conditions placed on providing aid to California. First, the very fact that that question even is asked is baffling. Like, you have to ask the question Will you impose conditions? And all over the weekend, I did a whole video of this. I saw senators and members of Congress from Wyoming and Tennessee and Louisiana and all of these states trying to lecture us in Los Angeles about them holding back resources from us here. I mean, you have Senator Barroso, all these MAGA Republicans from states that get money from California, right? Smaller states who depend on California, which is either the fourth or fifth largest economy in the world. And now you're trying to hold us hostage from federal aid when we're one of the biggest contributors to the federal government, far more than any of this. You know how livid this makes me, that it's even a question. But what makes me more livid is MAGA Mike Johnson says, yes, we're going to put conditions on it. And then you'll hear in this clip, he talks about one of them that they're considering is that we're going to have to agree to raise the debt ceiling so Donald Trump can add trillions more of debt in order for us to get aid in California. What in the world are you even, like honestly, these people are the most, I don't know how else to describe it other than vile, villainous, and disgusting. Let's play the clip.
Are you open to providing aid to California without any conditions at all?
I think we've got to have a serious conversation about that. Obviously, there's been water resources management, forest management mistakes, all sorts of problems. And it does come down to leadership, and it appears to us that state and local leaders were derelict in their duty in many respects. So that's something that has to be factored in. I think there should probably be conditions on that aid. That's my personal view. We'll see what the consensus is. I haven't had a chance to socialize that with any of the members over the weekend because we've all been very busy, but it'll be part of the discussion for sure.
What about the debt limit increase? What about tying the debt limit increase to it?
There's some discussion about that, but we'll see where it goes.
There's some discussion about tying a debt ceiling increase for California to get aid. And then you notice he spews the Elon lies as the pretext. Hello, Vladimir Putin, right? That's the Putin Kim Jong-un tactic 101, weaponize the lies to have some agenda, which is ultimately, what's this all about? The money. What do they want to do? They want to cut taxes for billionaires, and they know they can't pay for that. So they want to raise the debt ceiling, and they want to screw Americans so they can make way for massive handouts to the broligarchs, Brett.
Yeah, everything he said is a complete lie. California, it's just the fact California gives the most money to the federal government out of any state. And I will defend California to the death. It's an amazing state. LA is an amazing city. It's a beautiful city. It has a massive economy, and a ridiculous GDP output, which I think puts it at the number 5, if it was a country, it would be like number 4 or 5 out of all countries in the entire world. So, I think it's funny when somebody from, I won't hate on any specific states right now, but when some of these senators and representatives from their states try to talk crap on California, it's like, bro, do you know where you're from? All right. You know how much money, you know where you rank for education, you know where you rank in tech, you know where you rank in every category compared to California. Okay. But they tell their people that because it's like one of those North Korea style tactics where you act like these other places, oh, it's so horrible there. They have it awful there. Oh, you don't want to go there. And their people buy it. Like you see online, like you'll see memes and stuff of people from some of these states and some of these Trump voters who are like, thank God I don't live in California. Like not as about the fires, but just like in general. And it's like, all right, it's pretty nice here actually, but all right, we're pretty populated, so it's okay. We don't need, believe me, we don't need you here. But it's just so vile. It's so despicable to see, Mike Johnson saying that, using those lies as pretext to say, oh, actually they're local officials. They're basically blaming it on people for being Democrats in California. It has nothing to do with political party. Stop putting politics into every little thing, no matter who was in these positions, quite frankly, whether it's Gavin Newsom, whether that was a Republican, whether it's Mayor Karen Bass, whether it's Caruso, whether it's a Republican, whoever it is, you swap any of those positions out, this fire still happens. It still spreads in the same exact way. It's just the fact, because it was nature, it was Mother Nature, there was no stopping it. Now I'm happy that we do have competent people who are able to look this at from a factual perspective and actually understand how to solve these issues and work on it from where we are right now. But that initial hit, that was going to happen regardless. And I'm sick of these people trying to use California as a political wedge. I'm sick of them playing with people's lives over here. I really have an affinity for the communities in the city, in the state, and I see people busting their ass right now to help each other. I see people donating so much that I've gotten texts from the donation places saying, we don't want any of X, Y, and Z because we're already full. But if you could bring this, that, and the other. And so that's how much this community is coming together. They are overflowing the donation spaces with items. They are working, they are helping their neighbors. You are seeing the community of the city in action. And then you just have these politicians, these Republican politicians in Washington, just shitting on the city, making everything about politics. It's just absolutely reprehensible when the people in the city are either in survival modes or just lost their homes or their cars or their mementos or whatever. It's just so sickening to me on such a deeply personal level. And, we've covered this from the perspective of other states before and how abhorrent it is when they did this with North Carolina, when they do this with other states that face disasters. And you just really feel it, I gotta say, in an even different way when it's your state that's going through the crisis and you see these bullshit games that these people are playing in Washington. Like, enough is enough. I'm sick of the lies. I'm sick of the disinformation. Actually work for the people for once. Stop spreading your BS. Stop trying to be partisan. Just get together, pass a bill, help the people of this city. Help them. Stop with your politics.
Our editor-in-chief, Ron Filipkowski, responded to this CNN news alert. This is what the CNN news alert was. It said, Trump's musings about the U.S. taking over the Arctic territory have thrust it into the spotlight. This is what it's like to visit. And the headline is, World Meet Greenland. And Ron Filipkowski goes, sometimes I think this is a parody site, referring to CNN. But what it really is it's either intentionally, maliciously, wantonly, or negligently. You decide where CNN, which is funded by oligarchs, is going here. But they follow the shiny object, right? Take a look. Donald Trump's talking about invading Greenland, Gulf of Mexico, now Gulf of America. Look at what he's saying about Canada. Look. We need to take these things seriously, especially from the perspective that it's uniting the world against the United States. So we should be talking about that and take it seriously, but also realize the hustle, okay? Don't be hustled like Trump admin 1. Don't be hustled like campaign. Every day can't be Trump said this crazy thing. Trump said that crazy thing. Trump said this crazy thing. And look, I'm not saying that I'm totally innocent in this. I want to improve on how you deal with it. I think anybody who takes a cold, hard look at the voting patterns of behavior of Americans by and large were okay, at least 49% of voters, with how disgusting of a human being Donald Trump is. That didn't seem his low morality, the depths of depravity, being found liable for sexual assault, being a convicted felon, talking about grabbing women by their genitals because he's rich, saying that it's locker room talk in front of a bunch of young Republicans, all of hanging out with Epstein back in the day. All that to 49% of the voters, they were saying, well, Trump's made these promises: peace in Ukraine, lower prices, affordable housing, jobs. We can deal with a disgusting human being if these promises are going to happen. To which I was like, dude's lied his entire life all the time. He's bankrupted his companies. The reason I'm focused on the lack of moral character and all of these issues is to show you that all these other things are fraud, but people seem to be mesmerized by the lies. And Trump being, I guess, an example during this time is a tough analogy, but the arsonist, and then blaming the firefighters, the Biden administration, for what Trump actually created, not in a literal sense, but during the first administration, and how you deal with that, right? So I think it's important that we not get distracted. and as CNN is there, because let's talk about what happened over the weekend. Trump's envoy to Ukraine, Keith Kellogg, said, you know what? We're not going to be able to do peace in 24 hours. Yeah, I know that. I know that Trump said that. But look, 2,400 hours, how about 100 days? Give us 100 days, and then we can create a framework and then maybe create some conditions for ceasefire. I don't know. Here's Keith Kellogg, Trump's special envoy to Ukraine. In his own words, let's play it.
What we're going to do, we'll set the conditions for the president, and then he'll eventually get to a position where he'll be talking to President Putin and also President Zelensky as well. And I think they're going to come to a solvable solution in the near term. And when I say by the near term, I would like to set a goal on a personal level and professional level. I would say let's set it at 100 days and move our way back and figure a way we can do this in the near term to make sure that this solution is solid, it's sustainable, and that this war ends and so that we stop the carnage. And I think that's going to be very, very important to do. It's going to be important for our national security. It's a part of our vital national interest, and it's also good for Europe as well, and the globe as well. All right, General.
I predict that guy's not going to last that long in the Trump administration. And let me give you another. By the way, serious guy, Vietnam War, 101st Airborne, fought in a number of wars, Gulf War, Lieutenant General. Like he's a serious dude. Like he's not a bad person to have in that role. But let me show you this other clip of him, though, where he's like, I may be the envoy and I may have said all of these things, because then the reporter asks him, but Trump's saying different stuff than you. So what do you say when Trump goes out and says different stuff? Here's what Keith Kellogg says. Let's play.
I don't want to divulge anything that the president says or doesn't say because he speaks for himself. I do not speak for him. We've had an opportunity to talk about it. And we'll have more after the 20th of January when he's officially the president, not president-elect.
I mean, literally, your job is to speak on his behalf on the issue of Ukraine. Like, you're there giving an interview, speaking on his behalf, and then he goes, I don't speak on his behalf. And then he changed the goalposts from 24 hours to 100 days to build the conditions. Now, again, if you were responsible media, you would be covering it the way we're covering it here, right? That should be your front page story. Trump lies. And by the way, those are not minor lies. Those lies kill countless people in Ukraine because you're toying with people's lives by creating fake frameworks that aren't real or doable. You're destroying the ability of NATO to even operate when you're creating these fake and phony deadlines, and you're playing right into the hands of Vladimir Putin. Now, what Keith Kellogg recognizes there is actually what he's saying is actually not something I really disagree with, because you don't want to create a 24-hour negotiating window and then screw yourself by imposing an arbitrary deadline on your negotiations. It's the worst thing you can do in a negotiation is to let your adversary know your arbitrary timeline of what's failure, because then you could be cajoled or coerced in the negotiation. If Putin realizes that you're going to fail, he can say, okay, here's what I want. And that's what Putin's been doing, right? Putin's been saying, I demand total capitulation. I demand a total surrender of Ukraine. And by the way, Donald, I'm going to show nude photos of Melania on Russia TV, and I'm going to have our version of Sean Hannity laugh and mock you. That's what's been going on there. But the sleight of hand, the pickpocketing of Donald Trump, of now they've moved the goalposts to, we didn't really promise that. By the way, I'm not going to play this video because my same rule of not playing Trump clips, I'm going to extend that to not playing J.D. Vance clips. Sorry if you want to watch J.D. Vance.
I like that.
But J.D. Vance is asked, hey, the Biden economic numbers were, give Fox credit, they asked the right question. The Biden numbers were pretty good, huh? 258,000 jobs created, unemployment down to 3.9%. Basically, that's the lowest unemployment since 1960s. You know, the stock market was up under Biden, 16.6 million jobs created. pretty good, right? And inflation's, being tackled, and it's better than mostly any other nation out there because of the Inflation Reduction Act. So what does J.D. Vance say? His response is, I wish Joe Biden all the best, but the fact is he has left us a dumpster fire, not just at the border, but with the economy. He then goes on to say, we're going to have to work really hard to try to stabilize things, to try to stabilize the inflation. We're not sure what we can do to try to stabilize these prices. And as James Serwicki goes, the telling moment here is when Vance, talking about inflation, says they're going to work to, quote, stabilize the prices for Americans. That's not what Trump promised. Trump promised voters he would bring prices down. It was a nonsense promise. So now they're walking it back to say the goal is to stabilize, to keep the prices stable. So remember what we said at the beginning, that tank, that deluge of disinformation, allow perceptions to take over the facts, change the benchmarks. We're not going to have peace in Ukraine for maybe 100, 200. Who knows if we'll ever get there? We'll see. When it comes to the economy, we're not going to be able to lower prices, actually. We need to stabilize things. Donald Trump is a perennial con artist. Maybe the greatest con artist, although greatest and con artist shouldn't go along with each other, in the history of mankind. All he does is lie. He's created a virtual reality in his mind, implanted it on the reality, inhabits this fake world that he's created, and thrusts that world of propaganda and falsehood onto the American people, which is inconsistent with the world that we're actually living in right now. And if you look at Biden's record, if you look at everything, it's actually been, by fact, not perception, probably the most successful first term of anyone, maybe in the history of the presidency. Jobs created more than anyone else. 16.6 million jobs created. Stock market record high. Infrastructure Act, 40,000, 50,000. Infrastructure projects, blue states, red states, benefiting. Record low unemployment. Never lost jobs any single month. The American Recovery Act got us out of the disaster Trump left us in with COVID, where Trump said, like a miracle, it's all going to go away. It's all real, like a miracle. Inject yourself with bleach and Clorox or whatever. He got us out of that. And then he protected veterans with the PACT Act, brought the semiconductor industry. President Biden did here with the CHIPS Act. We're talking about massive pieces of legislation, and he would have passed a border deal if Donald Trump didn't kill it. It would have been so beneficial to us all, but Trump said killing the border deal was a winning issue to MAGA, so they could run on chaos at the border. But by the way, even with that, you want to know the facts, not the perception? The facts are that border crossings are down more right now than they were in April 2020 when Trump was in office. By the way, what was April 2020 when Trump was in office? Why were the border crossings down then? I don't know. Maybe something called COVID that Donald Trump failed to manage properly there. And border crossings actually were not down during a lot of Trump's presidency. They went down significantly because of COVID, as did gas prices, but that's not something to brag about when human beings in America can't get freaking toilet paper and there are mobile morgues and food lines taking place in America. Now, I'm worked up right now, folks. We're going to take our last quick break of the show. I want to remind you, MeidasPlus.com. Check it out. Also, patreon.com/MeidasTouch. We're going to take our last quick break of the show. When we come back, I want to show you President Biden's closing message to the American people. We'll be right back.
All right, let's talk about NAD+. It's in every living cell in your body, and it helps keep you young by repairing damage, detoxifying, and giving you energy. But between age 20 and 50, your NAD+ levels are cut in half. No wonder we start feeling older, more tired, and less vibrant. But here's the good news. Qualia NAD+ makes it easy to boost your NAD+ levels by 74%. It's a simple supplement that's vegan, gluten-free, non-GMO, and packed with ingredients to help you feel at your peak longer into life. Qualia NAD+ contains the most powerful NAD+ precursors like niacin. niacinamide, and Niagen. These ingredients are clinically tested to boost your NAD+ levels, and Qualia NAD+ has many other holistic ingredients that support all major aspects of NAD+ production in your body. Plus, it's doctor formulated, so you know it's the real deal. I've been using Qualia NAD+ since they sent it to me, and the difference is huge. I actually feel energized, awake, and ready to take on the day. I had no idea how much my low NAD+ was dragging me down. To boost your NAD+ levels by up to 74%, go to qualialife.com/Jordy for up to 50% off and use code Jordy at checkout. That's JORDY at checkout for an additional 15% off. That's qualialife.com/Jordy, JORDI, for 15% off your purchase. Thanks to Qualia for sponsoring today's episode.
A large part of managing a business's finances is tedious, repetitive work to ensure accurate bookkeeping. You know what I'm talking about. Ramp helps streamline this work, giving business operators like yours truly and you more time to focus on what matters the most. Ramp is the corporate card and spend management software designed to help you save time and put money back in your pocket. With Ramp, spend policies are built into the card so you can prevent wasteful spending before it happens. You can customize spending limits and restrictions so employees are empowered to purchase what your business needs, and you can have the peace of mind. Ramp plays bad cop so you don't have to. You be good cop. Detecting policy violations, chasing missing documentation, requesting repayment, and locking cards of non-compliant employees. And get this, Ramp's accounting software automatically collects receipts and categorizes your expenses in real time, so you don't have to say bye-bye to manual expense reports. You'll never have to chase down a receipt ever again, and your employees will no longer spend hours on expenses. The time you'll save each month on employee expenses will allow you to close your books 8 times faster. And now, get $250 when you join Ramp. Just go to ramp.com/Meidas. That's Ramp, R-A-M-P, ramp.com/Meidas, ramp.com/Meidas. Cards issued by Sutton Bank, member FDIC. Terms and conditions apply.
Shout out to our sponsors. Links in description of both the YouTube and the audio. Check out the links. Use the codes. Let them know we sent you, because that actually becomes a thing. I have all these conversations after the fact that the brothers don't even know this, and they're like, your audience tells us that y'all sent them, and like not a lot of audiences do that, so we appreciate the Meidas Mighty. And I go, hey, the Meidas Mighty are undefeated. Of course they let you know. Benji.
You know, I'm seeing all these stats about corporate media, that their unique users are down like 97%, like crazy stats like that. And they thought that cuddling up to Trump was going to be beneficial to them, or perhaps when the billionaires bought their kind of corporate media news outlets, that was their sacrificial lamb to show that they were MAGA to Donald Trump when they did that pilgrimage of shame to Mar-a-Lago. But what they didn't factor in is pro-democracy media. They thought they were the only show in town that, oh, if we just suppress the news, where are they going to get it from? Here's where you're going to get it from. And it's great. You know, while they did that, you know what? We're ready for the fight. We're ready for the battle. I want to thank everybody who's, become subscribers at MeidasPlus.com, at patreon.com/MeidasTouch, on the YouTube site. People have bought each other. You could gift memberships here. And that's been supremely helpful, because I think one of the best things is you can see the growth. You can see the research. You can see all of the things we've added in all of these different areas. The scope of the coverage has increased. Why am I going on that tangent? Well, one of the ways that also where we grow is, I think it's important info that you know that. And number 2, those pro-democracy sponsors help a lot. I know some people are like, commercials, no commercials. It really helps a lot grow this network. Let's talk about the confirmed cabinet confirmation hearings, though, that are taking place. The big one tomorrow, or if you're listening to this on audio podcast on Tuesday, is on January 14th, you have Hegseth. That's going to be an interesting one, and we're going to cover that here on the MeidasTouch Network. On the 15th, I think the really interesting one of all of these is going to be Kristi Noem for Department of Homeland Security. Pam Bondi, the head of the DOJ, will be interesting as well. She's got the bona fide. She's got the qualification. She was the AG in Florida. But I've seen her, I mean, when she was representing Donald Trump in the impeachment hearings, like she was not good. Like she was nervous. And it was a really shaky argument that she gave. And so she may be, you know, an operator behind the scenes, but it'll be interesting to see her with the cameras and lights on her there. And then we've got on January 16th, Lee Zeldin, EPA, Bessent, who is the appointed for the Treasury Secretary. We'll be covering all of these though, so check back in periodically to the MeidasTouch Network and our YouTube channel throughout the day. And I should give a shout out also to our mods here. They do an incredible job. Thank you for keeping the conversations here civil. I should give a shout out to you, the Meidas Mighty, and also our editorial team run by Ron Filipkowski. He does such a masterful job, Ron, leading the editorial efforts. And then all of our production team led by Adam Salton, a.k.a. Salty. But, Brett, let's talk about President
I just want to
Biden.
say, well, just because you brought up Ron wrote one of the most incredible pieces for our Substack today about his story, about his journey of being in the Marines, becoming a Republican and then becoming a Democrat ultimately, and then becoming an independent journalist here at MeidasTouch. It goes through his whole history, and it's stuff about Ron that I never knew till reading this. And I just found it a really kind of inspiring kind of tale of somebody's kind of evolution in their thinking and kind of gaining empathy about others and how they've kind of come to believe the things that they believe and fight for the things that they fight for. So you can check it out on MeidasPlus.com. I found it really powerful, and I think our audience really like it.
Yeah, and to all the MAGA people who find this talk by Donald Trump funny about invading Greenland or Panama or annexing Canada, think about your family. Think about if you have young people in your family, you're going to send them to die and to risk their lives to attack NATO allies like Denmark or attack Canada. That's what you're going to do. I've had this guy, Corey Hargraves, former Army sniper, on a lot. I've been interviewing him, and he was out there 2 tours in Iraq, and he's been telling me how he's taken life there, how he came back, struggled when he returned, and he's thinking, he's like, you're talking about sending us to attack. You're trolling, or you want us to take it seriously. You're going to put boots on the ground. That's what you mean when you say these things, whether you're trolling or not. And Brett, I think about Ron's service, to the country as well. And I just think about just the idea, the language of annexing countries. It is so vile, but also, when we talk about it, remember, bring it back to Greenland? What are you even talking about? Talk about prices. Talk about what are you going to do? You said you were going to make all these jobs right on day one. Housing was going to become more affordable on day one. Oh, wait a minute. Perhaps it's all the oligarchs who hang out at Mar-a-Lago who own private equity companies that they've purchased the supply of all of the houses, commoditized it, bundled it together, and have put the prices through the roof. Maybe that's one of the reasons why the prices are high. I don't know. Maybe the prices are so high as well because all of these people who have contributed to Donald Trump engage in price gouging frequently. By the way, you know what the oil companies are talking about now? They don't want to drill, baby, drill. You know why? Because they have enough oil. What they want to do is artificially suppress the supply to increase the demand so they can make more money, and they could focus on things like stock buybacks, because actually we've pretty much geologically drilled in a lot of the areas where they actually have the supply that they need. There's been more drilling in the Biden administration than in the Trump administration. So let's be fact-based. Let's talk about what's really going on here. And it may just be that Donald Trump, someone who's cared more about money than anything before, and who's been a horrible manager of money, maybe he's conning you like he's kind of done his entire life. But let's end it with this. President Biden talking about his accomplishments, as he did with me. And I think my interview with President Biden was the last one-on-one that he did as a video.
Last video interview, yeah.
That he did in his presidency. What an incredible honor, not just for me, for the Midas Mighty right here. The fact that this community, I'm glad to be in that seat, but it was really the community in that seat in the Roosevelt Room of the West Wing. But this is what he kind of told me too, and here he is in this foreign policy speech saying that his administration is leaving the next administration with a strong hand to play. Let's play it.
My administration is leaving the next administration with a very strong hand to play. And we're leaving them in America with more friends and stronger alliances, whose adversaries are weaker and under pressure. And America, that once again is leading, uniting countries, setting the agenda, bringing others together behind our plans and visions. In America, which is no longer at war, which has made historic investments in American workers, American energies, American factories, generating the strongest economy in the world, which is now in a much better position to win the future against any competitor. These wins are not partisan. They're American. They benefit all Americans and reflect America's endless capacity for leadership and reinvention.
I'll show you this next clip right here as President Biden talks about throughout his career, the world has undergone tremendous change. But let me share this with you. Let me play it.
Let me close with this. Like many of you, I've dedicated a significant portion of my career to our nation's foreign policy. As chair of the Foreign Relations Committee as a senator, vice president for 8 years, and now president of the United States, I put together one of the most competent foreign policy teams, I would argue, in American history, sitting in this room and before my eyes. Throughout my career, the world has undergone tremendous change. But certain things have always held true. At our best, America leads not only by the example of our power, but the power of our example. In the past 4 years, we've used that power, not to go it alone, but instead to bring countries together, to increase shared security and prosperity, to stand up to aggression, and to solve problems through diplomacy wherever possible, and to relentlessly defend democracy, civil rights, and human rights. Because that's who we are. That's who we are. You've heard me say it many times before. We're the only country on earth founded on idea. Every other country is founded on geography, religion, ethnicity, or some other unifying factor. But America was built on an idea, literally, not figuratively. That idea was all women and men are created equal. The idea that has inspired the world for 250 years and counting. We're always reaching to do better. Always looking to the future. Not our best. Always seeking progress for our people and for people everywhere. It's been the honor of my life to serve as your president. Today, I'm optimistic about our future, as optimistic as I've ever been. Just have to remember who in the hell we are. You've heard me say it many times. We're the United States of America, for God's sake. There is nothing beyond our capacity if we do it together and commit to it. Nothing. So thank you all for all you've done. I hope many of you are going to be staying in the next administration to keep this moving. May God bless you all, and may God protect our troops. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you.
Brett, that's the guy they pushed out. That's the guy that the media pushed out, that frankly the Democrats didn't defend anywhere strong enough, that they should have. We history when it's written, and I'm confident that together we're going to get through these next 4 years together. I am. But we had the guy who was delivered. We had the guy. He was right there. We had the guy. We had the guy, Brett.
Yeah. I mean, President Biden, obviously older, obviously very old, but, knows what he's doing. And, is a real statesman. And, I think when he is not in office anymore, I think we're going to miss that. I think we're going to miss that steady hand. I think we're going to miss that defense of democracy. I think we're going to miss that defense of our allies. And I think some folks are already seeing it now. And I think there will be a part of the country that will wake up down the road, after all this chaos and, these relentless attacks on our allies. And when people realize that this is not, America, what Donald Trump wants to take us to. I'm happy that President Biden got a chance to lay out his foreign policy, achievements there, including his defense of, getting out of Afghanistan, which, is something that folks have asked for and wanted now for decades. And, and President Biden was the one who actually did it and took a giant political toll for doing so, which, by the way, probably discourages any other future presidents from leaving wars once we are in them, which I think is horrific. And then somehow Donald Trump tries to run as the peace candidate when President Biden is the one who actually got us out of all of our wars and just provided defense and other means to other countries, actually not presiding over a single war during his presidency in terms of American troops or anything. But yeah, no, I think good speech there by President Biden. To see Ben's interview with President Biden, we have the link in the description to this video. If you've not watched it yet, please watch it now. If you have watched it, please remember to share that video on your social media, send it to friends and family. It's such an honor to have kind of that historical record of that final interview with President Biden right here on the MeidasTouch Network with you all. I think that's, something I certainly take to heart. Once again, I want to thank everybody out there for your kind words for me and Ben. But I want to ask you to send your thoughts and prayers. And I know the Republicans have turned that phrase into something that sounds so trite after like school shootings, but you can send your thoughts and prayers to, all the other folks in LA who have, really had devastating loss. Our hearts are with, everybody. This is a strong city, but this is a city that, could use, help right now. And it's great seeing folks come together here. And it's great. I know everybody, in the city appreciates seeing the outpouring of support that you all are showing and all the love. So I wanted to thank you for that. We're going to be hanging in here the next few days. We're supposed to get high winds. I'm getting all the warnings on my phones, more fire alerts, more high wind warnings. So we're just sitting tight, hoping that everything is going to be good. But we're going to be here every day delivering the news. We got the confirmation hearings. Tune in for the confirmation hearings, our coverage here on the MeidasTouch Network. Make sure you check out MeidasPlus.com. Once again, read that story by Ron Filipkowski. Excellent piece. Here's a screenshot for those watching. My story and why I switched from Republican to Democrat by Ron Filipkowski. Excellent piece. Meidas Plus is our ad-free experience. We're also putting our ad-free versions of these podcasts on Meidas Plus, so you could check it out. If you want to meet us face-to-face, you could do that on patreon.com/MeidasTouch. Remember to check us out. And something that really helps us out a whole lot, like helps us out a ton, is if you go and Apple Podcasts or Spotify, whatever audio podcast app you use, if you go and you add the MeidasTouch podcast on audio, even if you don't think you're going to listen to it on audio because you watch it here, go add it. And if you can, leave us a 5-star review. That sort of thing really, really helps us compete with all the kind of right-wing podcasts that typically dominate the charts. It's one of the reasons why we're in the mix, why we often beat them. And I want to continue to grow in that space and continue to get our messages out in a bigger, with a bigger megaphone than they are. We need to combat the lies, folks. We need to combat the disinformation. We need to lead with honesty, with integrity, with positivity. And that's, I think, one of the main missions of this community. So let's all do that together.
And then I'll just remind people about the event tomorrow or today, January 14th, 12:30 p.m. at 1146 East Green Street in Pasadena. If you're from the area, we'll have free In-N-Out burgers, also a bunch of other free food, Gatorades, drinks. Again, only if it's safe. Show up. Just you can quickly, grab a free meal if you're here. First responders, police officers, firefighters, anyone impacted, come by. I'm going to try to stop by at some point tomorrow. I don't want to be a distraction I'll stop by for, potentially for a little bit if I can, although this is my first week of teaching at USC. And so I have classes today, and I figure out what I'm doing.
But if you need it, of course, it's for the people impacted. So if don't just go because you want a free burger. But if you've been impacted, if you're a first responder, police, firefighters, we're trying to help out, as best we can. So it's been great to be able to partner here with Mendez and Sanchez to get some In-N-Out burgers, and if we run into those, we'll have some pizza and stuff. Just try and do everything that we can right now in this moment, while we also kind of try to figure out our own safety and all that. So thank you, everybody. I'm so grateful for everybody. It's been quite the week and a half, whatever it's been. I don't even know time. But I'm thankful for everybody. I have so much love for you all, and thanks.
Shout out to the Meidas Mighty. Hey, Meidas Mighty, love this report? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram at MeidasTouch to keep up with the most important news of the day. What are you waiting for? Follow us now.